You may think you're emotionally tired because life has been heavy, but sometimes that's not the real reason. Sometimes you feel drained because your mind never stops checking people, their tone, their face, their silence, their messages, their mood. You keep reading the room, adjusting yourself, and trying not to disturb anything. And after a while, you don't even realize it anymore. You just feel tired, not because you feel too much, but because you never stop monitoring everything around you. In this video, I want to show you the hidden habit that quietly drains your emotional energy every day and why breaking it can bring you back to yourself. The tired person doesn't look dramatic. Most emotionally tired people do not look dramatic. They do not always look broken. They do not always complain. They do not always explode. Sometimes they look calm, polite, thoughtful, easy to be around. But inside, something is always running. They walk into a room and immediately feel the atmosphere. They notice who seems distant. They notice who seems irritated. They notice who sounds colder than usual. And without even deciding to, they begin adjusting. They speak a little softer. They become more careful. They hide a thought. They delay a message. They replay what they just said. It looks small from the outside, but when you do this every day, it becomes exhausting because your nervous system never gets to relax. You are always a little bit on duty, always a little bit alert, always a little bit ready to respond to emotional signals that may not even be about you. Naming the hidden habit. That is the hidden habit. Not crying too much, not feeling too deeply, not being weak, constantly scanning people. And the reason this drains you so much is simple. Every time you scan the room, you make other people's emotional state more important than your own center. You stop asking, "What do I feel?" and start asking, "What does everyone else feel right now?" That shift seems harmless, but repeated enough times, it changes the way you live. You stop resting inside yourself. You start living around reactions. You begin shaping your energy around faces, pause, tone changes, and tiny signs that may or may not mean anything. A short reply becomes a question. A quiet moment becomes tension. A tired face becomes a problem to solve. A delayed text becomes something to decode. Why people don't notice it. And because this habit is so quiet, most people never name it. They just say, "I don't know why I feel off lately." Or, "I'm tired for no reason." Or, "Maybe I'm just too sensitive." But sensitivity is not always the problem. Sometimes the problem is that your attention has been trained outward for too long. You have become so busy managing the emotional weather around you that you no longer notice what it is doing to you. And that is where emotional exhaustion begins. Not in one big moment, but in small invisible moments that repeat all day. Everyday example. Let's make it real. You send a message, un normal message, but when the reply is shorter than expected, your energy changes. Suddenly, your mind starts working. Did I say too much? Did that sound wrong? Are they upset? Should I explain more? Should I send another message? Should I just leave it? Nothing huge happened, but your body reacts like something did. Now multiply that by 10 different moments in one day. A face at work, a strange silence from a friend, a colder tone from someone at home, a conversation you replay in the shower, a sentence you wish you had said differently, a room where you instantly feel like you need to be careful. This is how people become emotionally tired without understanding why, because they are not only living life, they are also constantly interpreting it. And interpretation takes energy. Monitoring takes energy. Self-adjustment takes energy, especially when it happens automatically. The real cost. That is why this habit is so draining. You are not just feeling emotions. You are managing possibilities. You are trying to stay ahead of tension, trying to avoid rejection, trying to prevent disapproval, trying to keep things smooth, trying to stay emotionally acceptable. And that is a heavy way to live, because no matter how good you become at reading people, you will never fully control what they feel. Some people will be quiet because they are tired. Some will be distant because they are distracted. Some will be cold because they are carrying something that has nothing to do with you. But if you are always scanning, you will still pull those signals into your body. You will still make space for them in your mind. You will still treat them like a responsibility. That is the hidden cost. You keep carrying emotional information that was never yours to carry. Awareness without grounding. And over time, this creates a strange kind of life. On the outside, you seem emotionally aware, but on the inside, you feel strangely disconnected. Because awareness without grounding turns into self-abandonment. This is the part many people miss. They think emotional maturity means constantly being aware of everyone else. But real emotional maturity also means knowing when to stop absorbing, knowing when to stop monitoring, knowing when to let a face be just a face, a pause be just a pause, a short message be just a short message. Not everything needs interpretation. Not everything is a signal. Not everything requires you to adjust. And if you never learn that, you will slowly become a person who is always present for everyone else's emotional world, but rarely present for your own. Where this habit comes from. That is why this habit feels so personal when you finally see it. Because it often started for a reason. Maybe you grew up in an environment where reading the room kept you safe. Maybe you learned early that peace depended on noticing tension fast. Maybe you became good at sensing small shifts because it helped you avoid conflict, embarrassment, or rejection. So this habit did not begin as weakness. It began as adaptation. It was a way to survive emotionally. But survival habits can become exhausting when they follow you into every ordinary moment of adult life. Because now you are no longer just using the skill when needed. You are using it all the time. At work, with friends, with family, in messages, in silence, in public, even when you are alone, replaying people in your head. That is when a useful skill becomes a draining identity. From person to radar. You stop feeling like a person and start feeling like a radar. Always scanning, always measuring, always preparing. No wonder you feel tired. No wonder rest does not always feel like rest, because even when your body sits down, your attention is still standing guard. And the hardest part is that this kind of exhaustion is hard to explain. You may not look burned out. You may not look overwhelmed. You may not even have a dramatic life. But inside, your energy keeps leaking through invisible openings. A look, a tone, a delay, a shift, a possibility, each one small, together, overwhelming. The shift out. So what do? The answer is not to become cold. It is not to stop caring. It is not to become insensitive or distant. The answer is to stop treating every emotional signal around you like an instruction. That is where freedom begins. When someone sounds off, pause before making it yours. When someone replies briefly, pause before building a story. When a room feels strange, pause before adjusting yourself to fit it. That pause matters because it breaks the habit. It creates a little space between what you notice and what you carry. And inside that space, you can ask a better question. Not, what are they feeling about me? But, do I actually need to take this on? That one question can save you a lot of energy. Because often, the truthful answer is no. You noticed something. That does not mean it belongs to you. You felt a shift. That does not mean you caused it. Someone changed their tone. That does not mean you need to shrink. Emotional energy returns. This is how emotional energy starts returning. Not all at once, but each time you stop over-monitoring, you stop overspending. You keep a little more of yourself, a little more calm, a little more clarity, a little more inner room, and eventually, you begin to feel something you may not have felt in a long time. Not perfect peace, but steadiness, the kind that comes when your inner life is no longer constantly reacting to every movement around you. That is what many emotionally tired people actually need. Not more advice, not more coping tricks, not another reminder to rest. They need permission to stop scanning, to stop performing emotional responsibility for everything in the room, to come back to their own center. Ending final insight. Because your energy is not only drained by what hurts you, sometimes it is drained by what you keep monitoring. And when you finally see that, something changes. You realize that being deeply aware is not always strength. Sometimes strength is staying with yourself even when the room feels uncertain. Sometimes strength is letting other people have their moods without turning them into your burden. Sometimes strength is not in reading more. It is in carrying less. So if you have been feeling emotionally tired lately, this may be the first thing to look at. Not just your schedule, not just your stress, not just your sleep. Look at where your attention goes. Look at how often you leave yourself to monitor everyone else. Look at how often your peace depends on reading the room correctly. Because that habit will drain you quietly. And it will keep draining you until you stop calling it kindness when it is really self-erasure. You do not need to stop being thoughtful. You do not need to stop being emotionally intelligent. You just need to stop living as if every shift around you requires a shift within you. That is the change. The moment you stop making your nervous system available to every signal around you, your energy begins to return. Slowly, quietly, honestly, and maybe that is what healing looks like here. Not becoming harder, just becoming less available to what was never yours to carry in the first place.